Welcome back to Liberty's Hill, where we explore the question, how can we create a world of human flourishing with liberty, justice, dignity, and prosperity? I'm Dr. Bill Brannan, a pastor in Liberty Hill, Texas. Today I want to throw out the idea of a Liberty Proclamation to replace pride proclamations in society. Last year, Liberty Hill, Texas proclaimed June as Pride Month. I found out the morning of the proclamation from another pastor in the city. I reached out to our mayor and asked if she would meet with me before making the proclamation. I know she was really busy, but she met me in the afternoon for coffee. I quickly came up with an idea to try to convince her to make a Liberty Proclamation instead. I wrote her a letter and created several drafts of the Liberty Proclamation. After meeting with me, she promised to give it real consideration. That evening, she made the Pride Proclamation, which was followed by public comments. Afterwards, the mayor found me in the crowd. We gave each other a big hug, and she explained that she was sincerely considering it until she returned to her office and found a new email in her inbox from a teacher at the local high school thanking her profusely for the Pride Proclamation because it was going to save lives. My understanding is that the whole proclamation was driven by an event where a student who came out as homosexual was bullied and ended his life. I have the highest respect for our mayor at the time and believe it was her passion to help kids and protect life that drove her decision. One of my personal opinions is that our culture is in the habit of doing things out of good motives that, if evaluated, either do not work or, worse, are counterproductive. My thinking is that if you think bullying was the primary cause, then what we need to evaluate is whether a Pride Proclamation in this situation would decrease bullying. I think we need to ask how we can help people grow so that they treat others humanely. And at the same time, we need to ask how we can raise our children to be strong and resilient in a world that, unfortunately, people do not always act humanely. My sincere concern, which I expressed to her in the letter and in person, is that a Pride Proclamation would be divisive and therefore contribute to the problem we are trying to solve. Here is a paragraph from the letter I gave her. Instead of declaring June Pride Month in Liberty Hill, I would like to ask you to declare June Liberty Month in Liberty Hill. The main reason is that true liberty is the founding value and dream of our nation. It is a value that is being lost in our culture that categorizes, divides, and demonizes people rather than respects, loves, and tolerates one another. I believe the loss of humanity is one of the greatest problems our nation is facing. People often listen to their favorite pundits without realizing that they create division and foster anger, hatred, and resentment towards others who think differently. People who disagree with us are often seen not as individuals with intrinsic value and worth, but as enemies that are responsible for destroying our nation. I see this dehumanization in many ways and believe that this proclamation is an opportunity to begin to heal our nation by a return to genuine liberty. Wouldn't it be amazing if the dream of liberty was resurrected in Liberty Hill? There were 3 drafts I gave her based on her original proclamation. The primary idea in the draft stated, "We maintain the freedom of thought, speech, and belief of every individual." I personally believe those freedoms are a foundation for unity, human flourishing, and to heal our nation. If we were to recommit ourselves to these founding values, the implications, though hard for many to accept right now, would lead to human flourishing. Many people attended that night, so that I was in the far back of the room outside the main meeting room. People were even gathered outside of the building. In the back where I was, there were some homosexuals, and I was listening to them and watching their reactions. There were many public comments, all but one from Christians. The tone and spirit of most of the Christians was blaming homosexuals for destroying America. This is exactly what I expected. For me, it was another expression of the divisiveness that is destroying our nation. I saw the responses create more anger and resentment among the homosexuals around me. It is a fire that is burning that will destroy our world if we do not put it out. My proposal for a Liberty Proclamation was an attempt to find something to unify us and put out the fire. My personal perspective on it may not be popular, but I want to throw it out there for your consideration and hopefully your feedback. The idea of maintaining the freedom of thought, speech, and belief of every individual means that people are free to believe homosexuality is a lifestyle that leads to human flourishing. As a Christian, I believe God gave people that freedom. What was clear from the Christians giving comments was that they believed homosexuality was destroying our culture. To maintain liberty, I also have to maintain that someone has the right to be thoroughly disgusted by homosexuality. If we are going to let the ideas of freedom of thought, belief, and speech be taken seriously, that has to include those with whom we disagree. The Pride Proclamation ignited the fears and convictions of Christians and created a cycle of anger and resentment. If I take liberty seriously, then I have to give people the freedom to make those proclamations when they are in a position to do so. My goal is to try to persuade people that there is a better way that leads to healing and tolerance. I personally believe that is what a Liberty Proclamation could do. The event highlights the importance of asking, how can we flourish in a world with such diametrically opposed beliefs? I believe that if we affirm that everyone is created equal and endowed by their Creator with unalienable rights, including the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, then we will see people with intrinsic value and worth, even when we strongly disagree with each other. If those rights are real, then the only way to create a better world in light of these values is persuasion. As a pastor of a theologically conservative church, I like to highlight to Christians that we are human beings created in the image of God first. Someone's sexuality is only one part of who they are. Regarding homosexuality, if you speak out of fear or act disapproving, I promise you are part of the problem. If your primary concern is not the other person's flourishing, then you are part of the problem. If you cannot change their mind by reason and persuasion, then they better know that you love, respect, and care about them, or you become part of the problem. I believe that we need to agree on certain core values which will heal our nation and lead to human flourishing. I suggest a commitment to liberty, including the freedom of thought, belief, and speech, is one of the values that, if we recommit ourselves to it, will help create the world that we all really want. Please let me know your thoughts, and please subscribe to my channel.